Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord and fell under the rule of the Ammonites. Israel was oppressed and desperate, but merely because the situation was desperate does not mean that we must be in despair. While the leaders of Israel recognized their dire state, they still sought a leader from God to bring them out. Sometimes we do not have control over our desperate situation. We can control how we react, and we don't have to be in despair. We can hold to our faith in God and let it lead us through. Jephthah becomes the 9th judge of Israel and was an unlikely judge because he was born the illegitimate son of a prostitute. He was driven from home by his half-brother and takes up his dwelling east of his home place, Gilead. Outlaws collected around Jephthah, and he was their leader, and this was a formidable force. The elders were desperate, but they had not given up, and they wanted to overthrow the Ammonites, so they offered Jephthah the job of commander. The man they had allowed to be stigmatized and ostracized from their region, they were now asking to lead them into battle. We still have cast-outs, people that we throw away, we stigmatize, we consider less. The mentally ill, the handicapped, people with different sexual orientations, people that are poor, people of different races, those that seek to break gender roles and class roles, we seem to throw away in our society. The men of Gilead were coming to a social pariah, a throwaway, to be their commander. This reminds us that we must treat people not based upon old stereotypes, old stigmas, because that sometimes causes us to have to swallow our pride. We must be careful to treat all people, no matter what their social class or race or religion or gender orientation or handicap or mentally ill status. We must treat all people with respect, treat them like we would want to be treated. Now, scars come when people have mistreated you and ostracized you. Jephthah was no different. He needed to make sure that there was a meeting of the minds between himself and the elders who were now seeking his help. And so he began to question the elders. How did I become so valuable? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble? Politics teaches us that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But they're not real friends. They're just friends of convenience, and they will soon throw you away after the situation is ended. Jephthah did not trust the elders at first. Why should he? We see the world through filters colored by our experiences. His experience with the elders was hurtful. We all will protect ourselves from people we think will hurt us or who have harmed us in the past. So the elders had to be clear. They had not only offered him the opportunity to be their commander, they had offered him the opportunity to be their leader, their head. And they sealed their words with an oath. The Lord is their witness. You want to note here, Jephthah did not have permanent enemies, but rather he had permanent principles about the freedom of Israel and about his faith in God. The leaders, the very same leaders that helped to run him out of his home, to stigmatize him, and to make him a social pariah, he was now going back to help them because those principles and his faith was bigger than their past history of mistreatment. But think about it. Arriving at home, the people who had seen this very same man run from the region because of their stigma now promised that he would lead them. God works in mysterious ways, and never doubt his hand in the course of events in our lives. To underline this whole situation, Jephthah repeated their vow to the Lord in a place called Mizpah. Jephthah knew the power of the Lord, and the Spirit of God came upon him, allowing him to see his territory and to see the land of his enemy. Jephthah promised to sacrifice the first thing that came out of his house to the Lord if he granted him the victory. We cannot look at this lesson as a strong man rising to power. Leadership is not based on strength. Leadership is based on a relationship. The elders of Israel, in a desperate situation, found the only person that they could trust to lead them to victory. That was Jephthah, a man they had ostracized. As a leader in your church, as a leader in your community, you must build a relationship of trust with those people who will follow you. You must first, however, trust God. Then the people who see the Spirit of God in you will trust you, just as they trusted Jephthah. That's the lesson for this week, and thank you for your prayers. This week I was unanimously confirmed by the Senate, and so now I guess I am the Secretary of Revenue, and I can feel your prayers as I go forward. That's the lesson. Bye.